What's going on, everybody? And I hope you're enjoying your Monday morning so far. NYG Jeffy T85 here, and I'm going to talk about New York Giants OTAs that begin today. And it's the first of a couple of workouts that are going to be happening starting today, going into the next couple of days before we get to mandatory minicamp. And then, of course, we go into that long time break between the early June and late July, early August before we get to training camp. Obviously, we already have a bunch of the guys that are signed, the rookie players that are signed already to the rookie deals. The only one that still needs to get signed is John Michael Schmidt, but I'm sure he's going to be done pretty soon. You got the veterans that are going to be coming in there, players coming back from injury. This is when you get to finally start seeing some of these new players that are coming into the organization get to be on the field all together. Rookies mixed with veterans, and you get to see how these players can adapt to the new playbook and see how quickly they can adapt to the offense going forward. It's going to be interesting to see what the Giants are going to do during this offseason, or during this OTAs and during this training camp. How they're going to implement to their practices and how they're going to be able to implement, everything being put together. This is going to be one of those types of things where the Giants are going to be, testing out the waters, seeing how the offense is going to be looking, opening it up, seeing how, Brian Daboll is going to try to, open up the playbook, essentially. A lot of Giants fans, including myself, expect this Giants offense to open things up a lot more going into this year compared to what they did last year. This team, obviously last year, didn't have the type of playmakers that they're going to be having this year because of the fact they didn't have Darren Waller, and their wide receiver position was either very injured or they couldn't create enough separation on the offensive side to be able to open things up. Now you are bringing in a Darren Waller at tight end. You bring in a bunch of speed wide receivers on the outside, and you're going to get to see this New York Giants offense go out there and really make a difference and see if they can open things up for this team going into the 2023 season. And OTA practice is when it's first going to start. Obviously, we'll know who's going to be practicing, what new players are coming in for tryouts, what players who did try out were signed by the team. We're going to get to see the new offensive players coming in, the rookies mixed with the veterans, like I mentioned. It's an exciting time because OTAs and mandatory minicamp is pretty much the first step back to know that football is getting closer to its return. I mean, obviously you have free agency that's behind the books. I mean, of course you have the June 1st cuts that are still on the horizon. But you have free agency that's on the books. They're beyond the books mostly. The NFL draft is behind us now. That was about a few weeks ago. So now essentially we're getting ready for the start of off-season workouts. And that's where you could really see where this team and what this team is doing in terms of the direction going forward. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see players like Paris Campbell and Jamison Crowder and Jeff Smith and Eric Gray and Jalen Hyatt and Bryce Ford-Wheaton and Darren Waller. Some of the players on defense, Bobby Okereke, Ashawn Robinson, Nacho, Leonard Johnson, Deontay Banks, Trey Hawkins, Javarius Owens, Bobby McCain. All these players that the New York Giants have brought in during free agency and during the draft. You're going to get your first look at now all these guys being mixed in to the offensive and defensive plays and seeing how these players can go out there and execute in their first real practices of the year. Now, I know it's OTAs. They're not mandatory. Players don't have to show up if they don't want to. But normally it's a good sign, especially for new players, that you show up to these practices because it really gives, a good feeling to your head coach that you're willing to go out there and you're trying to do your best to go out there and really show your coach what you can do. And B, this is the opportunity for some of these players that maybe when they were signed or maybe when they were drafted, especially the undrafted players, this is their opportunity to go out there and showcase their skills and potentially impress early, which maybe helps boost their positions on the depth chart initially going into NFL training camp. Now, I know, like I said, it's not mandatory. Things are not, there's probably going to be some players that won't be there at training camp, but at the same time, this is a good sign for to see what some of these New York Giants players come in here and really show what they can do. I'm really curious to see Bobby Okereke in the middle, Bobby McCain in the secondary, how Deonte Banks looks on the outside, how Nacho and Ashawn Robinson look on the defensive line, Bryce Ford Wheaton, Paris Campbell, Jamison Crowder, Jeff Smith, Jalen Hyatt, the wide receivers on this team, Darren Waller in the middle of the offense, the offensive line construction, especially John Michael Schmidt at center. How is this all going to play out? That's going to be the most fun thing to see when we get ready for OTAs starting today. That's going to be what's going to be the most exciting thing. Yes, it's a closed practice, so the reporters aren't going to be able to see or, talk about too much about who's impressing, etc. But I'm sure they're going to get the info afterwards on what players really showed out and what players really, looked impressive going into this first OTAs practice. And yes, you could take some things with a grain of salt, but at the same time, this is when you really start to see things start trickling together and how the team is being put together moving forward. This is your first initial sign that the NFL is not that far away and the NFL is on its way back. When you have OTAs, mandatory minicamp, then you have that little break from beginning of June all the way until late July, early August, and then that's when you start seeing, the NFL getting it going with preseason, training camp, and then obviously the beginning of the regular season that's going to be starting on the beginning of September. So Giants fans, get excited. You're first going to get your first looks at some of these players out there at practice, the veterans mixed with the rookies. OTAs begin this week. Let me know in the comments section what you're looking forward to and seeing in this New York Giants few days of OTAs. And then, of course, mandatory minicamp coming up as well later this month and next early month. Hit that like button if you haven't already and give a sub to NYG Jeffy T85. More news updates and chatter surrounding the New York Giants. And turn on that bell for notifications of the next video or short that will be dropping on the channel surrounding the New York Giants. And as always, hit that super thanks if you guys enjoy the video. Thank you all for the support that you've been giving me and all the feedback that you give me as well on my channel. You guys have helped me grow to exponential rounds that I've never thought in a million years I would ever get anywhere close to. So thank you all for the support that you give me, and you guys are the reasons that I'm in the position I am today. Thank you sincerely for all you do for me. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Monday. Take it easy, and as always, let's go New York Football Giants. Together Blue, everyone.